You didn't say action.
Action.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So I've looked under all 4 corners. Technically, I looked under the back 2 corners. I can see the front 2 corners really well. I'm going to jack it up before I actually move it. But I'm going to go ahead and get it hooked up to the truck. And what I've got here is I'm going to leave this pipe here because it's going to be easier to take out once the RV is out of here, once the tiny home is out of here. I'm going to have to make sure I don't mess up my plumbing over here. If I lift the front end up to get on the truck, the back end drops, and I don't want to rip the water line off. So we're going to look for that too as I move it. But I'm going to go on up to the front now and lift the nose up to get it hooked up to the truck. One of the things I do too, which is just kind of my thing, I kind of come up here and I figure out, that's right at my kneecap, the top of this. So I'm going to have to get the bottom of the trailer at least to the top of my kneecap height. And that way I'm just going to go ahead and set that up before I start the truck and start the backup. So basically I come over here and I see it was right about here. So I'm going to turn this to lift this trailer up to about here. So I've got, I don't know, a few inches to go. Hey, and this one's weighted pretty good actually. So this crank is easy to turn, which means it's probably 300 or 400 pounds up here. And it's not hard to turn. Sometimes when you turn these cranks and they're really, really hard to turn, that's a bad sign. These cranks are made for about 200 to 400 pounds. And you should be able to turn it with relative ease. If it doesn't, then you might have a tiny home that's too heavy in the front. And if that's the case, you can always put sandbags in the back to tow it or whatever. But you definitely want to get your balance right. So at this point, I'm above my kneecap. It'll fit up under there. I'm going to feel up in here and we can look in and see what the hitch mechanism does, that it all feels tight, that there's no parts falling out, there's no loose screws or anything. Looks like this one's going to work pretty good. I don't understand this one real well yet. Ah, there we go. So Jen's going to do the backing for us today. And if you are in a big Ford, you should definitely put your big hat on. You gonna roll the window down? Hey there, hot stuff. How you doing? Hat.
Pretty good there, partner.
Right on. Hat definitely helps you back up. And so you do want to get it lined up as good and straight as you can. Coming in at angles can cause you problems. So
he's talking to you guys because I've done this a million times.
This ain't her first rodeo. All right, we'll get it backed up.
Okay. As I ran my mouth, but I can do this. It's in one take, so we'll edit the crap out of it.
You're fine. You can look at your thing. So something about a 2014 Ford is, you know, normally I'd sit here and I'd be doing like this and this and this and all that kind of crap. But I'm going to go show you inside what looks really cool about these things. I was going to show them how cool it is that you can hook this up by watching the little monitor, because you got the black line and you can see the hitch.
I'm gonna say that I did it all like by knowledge. I didn't want them to know I had a camera that made this so much easier. That goes my cool factor.
Well, I was just telling them how normally you're like this and then stop and then come back a little farther and go right, go left and all that. Actually, you can turn the park gate off if you want, because it's going to drive you crazy.
Sorry, I will in a minute. Let me
Okay.
get situated here.
I like how you lost the hat.
You gonna go check me out?
All right, we'll see. Now, one of the things, if you throw it in park, it can roll back and forth, so we always push the brake. Boom. Now it's not going to roll back and forth. It rolled a little bit.
You totally lied.
Well, you didn't push the brake hard enough.
I pushed it all the way down.
Did you really?
It's all the way down. That's Ford's problem, not mine.
Yeah.
Oh, like, can't get in here.
Well, let's go see how she did. All right. Oh, nope. Missed it, kind of.
Yeah.
Y'all are good at this, right?
That's right.
Time.
Oh, yeah. That's Robert. Say hi, Robert.
Hey,
Robert helps us a lot. Okay, let's see how she does with her rear camera. Oh, look. That's really good. You want to kind of come forward a little bit? No, go forward a little bit. You always want to be kind of forward on the hitch a little bit, because the mechanism in the go ahead. Just okay. Let's try that. Keep it from rolling though. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just crank it down. We'll see what happens. Because basically, here, you want to film? Thanks. I think it's on still. So come back a little bit more. Here, get right here,
keep it
Robert.
sideways.
Oh no, sideways. Turn it. There you go. Yeah, just come back a little bit. Okay, hang on. Now this is where that mechanism will start getting goofed up, because basically you got to have, it's a pinch. It's like a pin that pinches and hangs onto the ball right there. But if it ain't back far enough, which it's not, go forward just a little bit. Very, very little. Just put it in drive maybe. There you go. A little bit more. There you go. So now as I'm holding this up, you can see it kind of seat down onto that ball. And at this point, you can see the weight of the truck coming down with the weight of the tiny home. And now you can see down here, right down here, is now all the weight is on the truck. You can see here that that you've got the right amount of space in here. And it's a terrible idea to feel up in there, because if anything moves, it can cut your fingers off. So don't. But this is pretty much like that. I'm going to look up under there and make sure that we've got it really good. And we do. So the pin, the clip is on the ball, and like the ball's here, so it's not going to bounce off. Basically, it's all locked on, and we're good there. All right. So go ahead and throw it in park, and we'll wrap this up. So another thing you want to do is make sure that this is up as high as it can be. That is a low point, and you can rip this jack off, and it can goof up the trailer and actually kill the integrity of the trailer if you do that wrong. And basically it happens in parking lots. When you're going into a parking lot or into a deep dip, you just don't do that on trailers. You avoid those. You come out kind of sideways on the dip. That's another lesson about towing and everything. But this is looking pretty good. What I do want to show you is the truck dipped down quite a bit. We have airbags on this truck, and so we can adjust the airbags on the back to make the back end go up or down. And right now, what you want to look at is if the trailer is looking pretty level. We're in kind of a crappy site. I'm perceiving right now that the back end is a little higher than the front end, so I'm going to go ahead and add some air to the airbags. So we're a little bit more level, and the jack isn't bad. And this is kind of Macarena cool anyway. So basically, in my case, I grab a fancy little remote, and I go, got 15 PSI in there. So I'm going to jack it up to, let's do 65. It does it in 10s. You can hear the airbags going. You can kind of see the back end lifting up. It's very, very slight. Probably don't see it on video. Wow. But yeah, so it's going, and I think it's probably pretty good now. Looks like the front end of the trailer is potentially slightly higher, which I prefer actually. So I'm going to leave it at that. And now that we've got the truck and the trailer batched up, we're going to go take the wheel chocks out, because the trailer can't move now. You have to do that. A trailer moving by itself is a terrible, terrible thing. So I check front and back. Normally I'll chuck like this on a dual axle trailer. Just basically a block in the front, a block in the back on both sides of the axle. Commonly forgotten. Another thing that's commonly forgotten that you can screw a lot of things up with is the block, if there's a block used for the jack. I pull the tire over that, it can cause some damage to the sidewall. You definitely do not want sidewall damage on your tires. You don't want belts breaking. A lot of these times these tiny homes sit so long, all the oils in the tires go to the bottom. Again, tires are an issue. Now normally too, I'm going to go ahead and show you because we're not going on the road, but basically you would hook these chains up to right here. These are safety chains. You hook them up there. Anything goes wrong here, anything breaks, these safety chains are designed to hang onto the trailer so it doesn't go careening into traffic, stays with your truck. That would be a nightmare. Always make sure your ball and your hitch are nice and secure and tight. Also, if I was in the going anywhere, I'd make sure that I had the right connector for this. I'd plug it in right here, and I'd go step on the brake lights, the emergency lights, the parking lights, left blinker, right blinker, have somebody check, make sure all my lights are working properly. I'm not going to do it in this case because we're not leaving the parking lot. And I'm going to take these off before I forget. I'll leave those on, I don't care. Okay, so now we're going to actually put some movement into the trailer. We are a little sideways because we got trees in front of us, so we went ahead and made that decision to do that. I'm going to pull off a little bit, have Jen out here scream at me if anything goes wrong, if anything doesn't come apart. So we'll have to keep a look under the trailer as we move forward, unless you want to pull it forward. And two, when you turn, you don't want to run anything over.
No, you should probably do that. I make the food. Okay.
Okay, you ready? So we're going to go ahead and pull. You get the trailer a little bit of movement. You see it pulling sideways already. A little concerned for that. I'm just going to give myself a couple inches and winch up everything. I'm already moving the sewer pipe, I can tell. So I'm going to go check everything and see if it's letting go. All right, so here's one of the reasons you inch forward, as I did notice the sewer pipe, and it's got this random attachment here, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that, but I could have done a lot of damage either to the trailer or the sewer system. So I'm going to go ahead and get this unclipped. From here, it just blocked my view, but basically this is the pipe right here, and fortunately it looks like that's going to be easy enough, just like that. But you can see where it was hooked. In the case of going down the road, you definitely want to get rid of that. You cannot have anything dangling around. The cops will pull you over for that kind of thing. Can create damage to your RV, your tiny home, your trailer. It can create damage to other vehicles. But again, since we're just moving here locally, I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right. I don't listen for anything to pop, anything to break. Go slow, 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 especially after they've been sitting a while. I'm going to go ahead, now that I'm feet out, I'm going to go check everything out again. All right, the tires are looking good. You want to look for flat spots on the tires, any kind of damage from where they've been sitting. Just checking again to make sure everything's clear. A couple of things I did notice already is we've got our skylight open, which would be a nightmare if you were running down the highway. Wind catches that, blows things around inside. If I was moving, I'd definitely want to get up there and correct that. Making sure everything's secured. Generally too, when I pull out of the driveway, I'll go to the first big parking lot, try to make another sweep through the inside, see what's fallen, see what's coming apart, falling down, you know, hit a bump or two and then go check it out. And of course, if you did a good job securing everything to begin with, you won't have that problem. But I think we're good to go now. So we're going to go ahead and just move it. I'm going to take it down to that parking lot, turn it around, get a picture of it behind the truck because it's cool as heck. And we'll go from here.
Okay, we're rolling.
Yeah, there she goes.
Ready? Okay, so a couple of things you definitely want to look at when you are towing is jackknifing and the angle of your tires and rims. It's basically these dual axle tires. When you turn, the back one's going to go out, the front one's going to go in. It's just a natural thing. They designed that into the trailer axles, but you definitely don't want to tweak that too much. And then back here, you want to look. Jackknifing is when either I would hit here in this space from turning too sharp or backing up too sharp, or if the trailer hits my bumper, that's a jackknife. It's going to cause damage. It's going to cost you a lot of money and heartache. So you cannot turn as sharp as you think you can most of the time. Keep an eye on that. Here you can kind of get an angle maybe of the tires, like shooting back this way. You can see how they're a little tweaked when you do a turn like that. So you want to keep an eye on that. You want to listen for pops and creaks. If you were going on a road trip, you definitely want to jack this up and check your bearings. You wiggle the tire if it's loose, you replace it, you spin the tire. If it's bad, you replace it. You also check your brakes. Another video altogether, but you want to check your trailer brakes. When you're towing something this heavy, you have to have trailer brakes. I think that's it for now. All right, so we've moved, put it where we want, the right angles and everything else. One of the first things you want to check is if the axles are level, because you don't want to have to level it by the stabilizing jacks. They're only stabilizing jacks. If the axles are not level, you drive up on blocks or dig a hole on the opposite side, but make it level. So one of the things I'm going to do here, front to back doesn't matter right now because I can move it front to back with the tongue jack, but side to side is what's really important. So I'm going to put it back here. We're going to take a look at this one right here, and look at that. We're pretty level.
Sorry.
Bubbles in the middle, that's where we want to be. Now, if we weren't, I'd basically dig out the high side or add some blocks under the low side and pull the truck forward and back it up. Next thing you want to do is get it off of the truck. Actually, first thing you want to do, after you see that it's level and if you don't have to monkey with it that way, you get the blocks. Remember, you do not want a trailer moving. This right here is not a good setup because it could roll forward. You see how it only is blocked to not roll backward. So what I'm going to do is put one in the front, one in the back, let them kind of lock up on each other. And so this axle can't move forward or back, as you can see. I'm going to go check the other side because I have had a trailer before where you only block the one side and it actually gets away from you.
Oh, I remember that.
Jen was with me. You do not want that.
No.
So this is pretty good. So we had Robert come over, must have come over. Again, this is the key right here, front and back. If you're on a hill, you want better things than rocks. We're not on a slope of any kind, but you would want something better that wouldn't slip like rocks, like legitimate chocks for, you know, they have the angle and some grips on them. And you really don't want to put trailers on a hill anyway. It's just bad practice. And then you come around here. See, we're still hooked up to the truck. Basically, you may have noticed that it's quite a bit distance to the bottom of the jack. So I'm going to stand this up on two because the ground probably slopes down towards me, which is why I'm up here.
Okay.
But I'm going to go ahead and let the air out of the bags of the truck, let it drop as far as I want, and then do this. So you want to come, let's go do air out of the bags.
Hey.
So basically I'm letting the air out of the bags. I generally run 10 pounds. I don't want to be 5. Something's going wrong with the connection. So I'm going to leave it at 5 pounds. So then if you come back over here, you can hear the airbags letting go. And you can probably see how it's dropped some without even the jack. And that's not a bad thing, because I want as much height to get the hitch off of the truck so I can pull the truck out. So now I'm going to go ahead, jack this thing up. And again, this is a really weird lock on here, but basically I'm going to have to pull that up to take the lock off of the truck. So I'm not lifting the truck up. You can start seeing the trucks coming up.
Suspension.
You can see I'm up above the hitch so I can get rid of the truck. Never forget your chains, because you don't want those pulling it off the jacks and over the thing. Yeah, it's just damage. So now I can see I'm really clear. I would also check and make sure that my electrical was done, because that's expensive repair as well. But I can see now that if I pull the truck away from the trailer and I take 2 or 3 looks to make sure, because those mistakes happen far too often. So I'm going to pull the truck out of here and we're going to get the rest of it set up.
Okay.
You ready? All right. So we've removed the truck, which means the nose could be high or low. It's just hard to tell. Grab your trusty ruler. I like getting that on a frame rail. And now I'm checking front to back. So basically you can see that I need the bubble to go to the middle, which means I need to drop the front, which you can kind of tell anyway. But I'm going to drop it here. And then technically how I always like to level these things is on the countertop inside. So I'll get it as good as I can from the outside. But I like the countertops level because that's where it matters really, is in your bed and your countertop. How are we doing over there?
Bubble's still off to the right, so it could come in. It's moving a little bit, but...
I might have goofed. Yep, I goofed by putting those 2 blocks in there, dang it. So I need to live. It ain't much. What's going on the countertops?
Okay.
I might have goofed by putting 2 blocks. All right, so look at that. Countertops, pretty square. Could probably use the nose to go down slightly to make it perfect, but I can't worry about that right now. Inside the side, we're pretty square on. What I'll probably do is lift up the left side, put a little bit more stable on the left side if anything. It really, your stabilization jacks really should not create any level for you at all. They're only to keep it from rocking back and forth. Wow.